This talk, I wasn't quite sure how to do it because I'm, by my nature, fairly. Oh no. By nature, I'm fairly kind of self-deprecating, so I wasn't quite sure how to go about doing it, and that may become irritating. I apologise if it does. It's kind of taboo or something. But so kind of, I thought when I was a student, the most useful thing to me would have been if people would just tell us kind of what they've done, how they got there, but without too much kind of embellishment, too much kind of exaggerated stories and stuff. So this is trying to tell you the truth of how I've ended up here. And also it's a chance for me because I've not, the last 3-4 years I've been absolutely flat out. I mean, biking back for that kind of in terms of what she knows about me. I work 24 hours teaching, designing. And so it's been a chance for me to kind of reflect. So there are various themes that do emerge naturally, which I've not spotted before. So it's going to be slightly kind of ad-libbed and tangential, but it'll be fine. And I think we can do questions during. I know we're meant to do them at the end, but I don't mind. So yeah, I did my degree at Falmouth College of Art. It's a tiny little college in Cornwall. It's so far south in the UK, you've got tropical plants, which is kind of unusual in America, but palm trees and stuff in the UK are quite unusual. It felt very isolating, and the only reason I went there was it was considered the best course in the country for graphics, and they accepted me. That was my only criteria. So I spent 3 years there. I graduated with a first-class degree, moved back to Oxford, thought it would be easy. Yeah, couldn't get a job. Oxford is quite close to London, so I was looking for jobs in London as well. But at the time there was a mini kind of recession. Various large design companies have gone bust. During my degree, I'd done a placement at Enterprise IG, who were at that point the biggest branding company in the world. They wanted me to extend my placement, and they would have paid me. And then there were various whisperings, and they said they couldn't do that. And it later emerged, after I graduated, their accountants were Arthur Anderson, the same accountants as Enron's accountants, and they went bankrupt. So don't kind of count your chickens. I assumed I'd have a job. So I went to Oxford, couldn't get a job, 6 months not signing on, but 6 months looking for kind of any vaguely design related job. Lots of near misses, almost got a job at 2000 AD, comics publisher, the people that know 2000 AD, yeah. So Judge Dredd and stuff. That didn't happen. They basically said the job was mine, and then the next day apologetically rang me and said, we've just had someone from DC Comics relocating to Oxford who's done this job before. And it's like, fair enough, you've got to give it to them. But they were great about it. And so I got, around this time I got accepted onto an MA at Central St Martin's, and for me I was always a much more kind of conceptual designer. Can you hear me?
That's nice.
Yeah, that's better? Okay. I'll find the edge to remove it. Okay. Yeah, I applied to do a master's at St Martin's, partly because, yeah, my work was more conceptual, but also I just thought it's a way of keeping close to the design industry if I can't get a job immediately. So I was quite kind of pragmatic about it. It wasn't any kind of delusions of grandeur. It was, I need to stay in the design industry. I want to be in it, but no one wants me yet. Or I can't find where I fit in yet. So around that time, I got offered a job of being a postman. And this was great because at that point, it was one of the only jobs where you could work unlimited overtime in the UK. And so from 2 weeks in, I was taking on at least 1 or 2 overtime shifts a day. So I was working 6 days a week, sort of 12, 14 hours a day, doing that. And that was great because I had this end point 6 months away from my MA in London. I knew it would be expensive. And being a postman at that point meant that I could then do my master's for a 1.5 years without working. Because my priority was get a design job, so focus on the master's. Weirdly, another job that had turned me down previously also wanted me to do a weekend job for them. I took that on top. That was working in a museum in Oxford. So when I finished my double shift on Saturday at the post office, I'd go and do that as well, and then work my day off. But that's fine. You do what you got to do, ultimately. And so, yeah. And so I went to London, Central St Martin's, to do my masters, which is where I met Brian. I moved to London. I'd been to London a lot as a child, but didn't know it at all in terms of living there. Moved to a horrible area, the area that always starts the riots in London. Tottenham, it was cheap, and I didn't know any better at the time. And I only had a couple of days to actually sort out accommodation. I turned up on my first day at St Martin's in my post office outfit, so I didn't have any other clothes at that point. Yeah, ridiculous, I know. But everyone thought it was a massive fashion statement. And then I was there, and it's annoying. This is another lesson, archival work. Yeah, so I haven't got any work to show from my masters, but it was exploring language, it was exploring politics particularly. My parents have kind of brought me up to be quite politically minded. Not that they're members of parties, but because they grew up dirt poor. No, they didn't grow up dirt poor. I grew up dirt poor. They grew up quite wealthy, but they were very kind of socialist minded. And so this led me to kind of thinking to apply to the Labour Party to do a work placement there, as it would hopefully help me resolve some of my kind of thinking from my MA. And weirdly, I just sent, I didn't have any contacts there. I didn't know who to ask. I'm terrible at ringing people. And yeah, so I just sent an email to their info@labour.org. And someone weirdly got back to me. I went and met them, and they had gone to the same college as me. And they said, yeah, come in, do a placement. Yeah. And so I did that, and it seemed to go really well. I was working on kind of various projects. It was quite dull work. It was just very corporate, very brand guidelines, but it felt like there was a value to it. So it wasn't just kind of selling a shiny product that we didn't really need. It was, at least hopefully, I know kind of a lot of it's propaganda and stuff, but at the heart of it, there were kind of an ideology, and they were set to be the right team, British politics anyway. And so after I then graduated, that placement actually completely changed the course of my work. It was very anti-political party. And then a week, well, I think it was during the show actually, Labour Party gave me a ring and gave me a job. So I don't know if that's the quickest time anyone's sold their song. In a way it feels like my fault, in a way it doesn't. It just took me on this kind of very different course. It was back to being a pragmatist rather than this idealist in my MA work. It was that they've offered you a job, you can do it. It'll be a good place to learn. This was a run up to the 2005 general election. So I knew it would be busy. This was Tony Blair. Do you know Tony Blair? Yeah, Tony Blair's last general election. At this point, kind of increasingly unpopular in the UK because of Iraq. I think we've gone into Iraq just before then. But made him really popular in America. So I went and did it, and I didn't have any hesitation. It was a paying job. They're still ultimately kind of the right end of the spectrum being a slightly left. That's me and Tony. This is the least embarrassing picture of me, and one with the biggest distance, just in case anyone wants to shout "Walker." In the UK, I'd get that more. But yeah, this feels like a very the thick of it kind of photo.
Yeah.
Do you have that? Do you watch that?
Mm-hmm.
Some of you. And so we kind of work on, this is slightly later actually, we work on various stuff from large speeches to various documents to manifestos. And the first day I was there, in fact, I was there till 11 at night, and then kind of cycled home, and kind of while I was eating something dreadful, put the news on, and there was my document I just designed being waved about by Labour politicians, and it was like, this is amazing, the kind of turnaround and the impact. And yeah, it's not a great piece of design, but it has value. And kind of later on, had American friends kind of email me, say, I've just seen some stuff, I know you're working there, would you have worked on it? It's like, almost certain. And so kind of, that was great, the impact and the reach it seemed to have, even though as a designer, you want to be doing a kind of glamorous, kind of show-busy type design work. This wasn't that, but it seemed to have a significance to it. And kind of what really I discovered at Labour Party was I went in not knowing anything in terms of designing in the real world. I went in at the time, one of their busiest times. They geared up with 15, maybe 10 freelancers, so there were 15 people in total. A core staff of 5 designers. And no one had any time. We all had multiple jobs piling up. Some jobs had a half-hour turnaround. And no one had any time to help me out. And I couldn't get my head around it initially. It was like, I'm drowning, I don't know what to do. So I just started speaking to printers, saying, how do you need your files? And within kind of a couple of weeks of that, printers were then turning around to me and saying, look, your colleague has sent me some terrible artwork, can you just sort it out? Because they don't know what I'm talking about when I send it to them. And that made me kind of invaluable. And after that, my short-term contract was over after the election. I was the only person to be kept on and given a full-time contract, in addition to, well, the core staff went down to 4 plus me. And that was great. That was kind of validation that I can do this, I get it. And they said they were kind of worried. Openly, they kind of said, we weren't sure you were gonna cope because you seemed so quiet. And that was just because A, I'm not that social for a human being, but also I just need to focus. I didn't know what I was doing work-wise. I'm here to do a job. I'm going to learn how to do the job first and worry about the kind of social licenses later. And yeah, it seemed to pay off. And kind of as that developed, you then go through your kind of regular kind of annual political cycles. So you'll be designing for annual conferences like this, which is fascinating because you're designing huge, large format pieces for essentially branding buildings, both external and internal, either two. Yeah, they are the same conference. So up in Manchester. And you've got to kind of work with various different skill sets that you've never thought about even before. So I was talking to a TV company about which shade of purple works best on TV. And there were certain shades that looked something else or made TV cameras kind of have a sort of moire effect. And so all that was kind of interesting. I mean, it looks awful, I know, in this kind of photo. But it was just interesting to learn from a very kind of, I'm not learning about kind of good design here, I'm just learning about technical stuff. And I found it kind of invaluable. But there's only so much to that you can say. But yeah, this was a weird one. So at the conference, we'd be working at kind of the daily newspaper for the conference, we'd be working on any kind of event and ticketing and mail outs and stuff in advance. So yeah, working on a bit of everything really. And I was getting a little bit frustrated, I guess, at this point. The people that were sort of leading the department were lazy and not very good at their job. And the other 2 people in the department at this point were kind of looking at leaving. They seem to come back. But they did leave. And it got to the point where I was kind of being given bigger and bigger jobs, and they eventually just moved out the head designer. And they decided that I could basically just have a rotating staff of freelancers that I had to manage. And this is only, I reckon, maybe 2 years into the job. So I'm running the design department of the Party of Power at that stage. I'm the only full-time designer, and I need to get freelancers in. So that was a struggle to adjust to. But I enjoyed it. It was a new challenge. I like kind of being thrown in at the deep end and swim or drown, basically. And it led to, well, we had leadership elections because Tony Blair, shortly after being elected, declared he was going to resign somewhere in the next 4 to 5 years. And so when it looked like it was about to happen, it was all top secret. So I was brought into various kinds of top secret meetings, and it was, we're going to need to make a break from the image of the party under Tony Blair. You know, it's kind of become, well, it's difficult because it wasn't toxic. He still had a huge core support, but they knew they needed to distance themselves from him. So first they needed kind of a leadership election. And so, yeah, so the logo before was like that. And then we moved to this. And then kind of had to seamlessly move to that. And while kind of as pieces of design, they're quite kind of dull, and there were kind of so many restrictions on them. It's still got to be the road, it's still got to be the same typeface, it's got to have leadership elections in it, and a website in it. So where the hell to go with that? Yeah? So, again, not the most creative, but fascinating to do it, and then kind of having to roll out, particularly for the leadership elections, organise a kind of mailing for 4 million people and kind of deal with someone, digital printing for all, and this is, when is this? This is 2007, 8. So this will be kind of when digital printing, yes, it's happening at that point, but it's still relatively early days. And so this is kind of customised mailing. So organising that and setting up files for that was fascinating, again, from a technical point of view. And I'm not saying kind of by any means that technically I'm brilliant. I just like asking questions of printers and of other suppliers and kind of understanding how I can make their lives easier and get the most out of whatever it is. And then, yeah, I got fed up and quit. Really, the point that brought me to that was kind of, there was some project that had been going around in circles for ages. And the client, it was an internal department, was just kind of causing problems, and they were going against the brand and stuff, and there's no way what they wanted would get signed off. And then kind of, I had gone to another meeting about another job, and they had kind of held down a kind of crumpled up post-it note with like a sketch, and just saying, like this, on it. And no explanation, they didn't hand it to me, it was just on my desk. And so I kind of, there was a lot of other things kind of going on internally at that point, so I just went and took a sort of 2-hour lunch break, sat on the River Thames, kind of on the bench on the River Thames on a very grey London day. Went back 2 hours later, noticed I was gone. And maybe that's fine, but kind of that was a point where I kind of thought I need to get the hell out of here. And if I can't do another design job, if this is all I'm good for, then I'm done. But I checked my bank account and didn't have enough savings to feel confident. So I stayed there for another 6 months. But this is where Smallfury comes from. So I was furious, but I didn't leave immediately. Therefore, Smallfury. However, I didn't use that as a company name until later. So I left Labour Party without any contacts and just with a very one client kind of portfolio. So I didn't know what the hell to do. I spoke to various recruitment agencies, and they thought the scope of the work I've been doing was great, but they were placing me with kind of internal in-house departments. I didn't want to do that again. It'll be same shit different day kind of thing. And I just felt I've learned the technical stuff. I need more creative stuff now. And I played people with some freelance pharmaceutical ad agency stuff, which was awful, and I've not kept work with that anyway. But they pay damn good freelance rates. They're the people that will have money when every other industry doesn't. So I sucked it up for a while. But while I was doing that, I was conscious that it's like, well, look, don't just head down this route. There are lots of designers out there that are very bored with what they do, don't really like what they do, but they can make money. You didn't go into it for making money. You went into it for, yes, having a job, but ultimately you need to satisfy something else. So I went back really to my MA tutor at St Martin's, and she kind of put me in touch with Susie and Ian, who were running Nude magazine. So it's kind of a counterculture. I don't know if it made it to America. It may have done. Counterculture magazine, sort of mid-90s, I guess, to possibly, when was it saying that? Yeah, so I reckon to about 2010, 2011 it stopped. And yeah, basically they didn't have any money and they had a tiny office. So they were paying me, I don't know, for a day, £50. So that's probably $60, $65 in kind of your money. And it was okay. I mean, it was fine. Wasn't that creative, and because they had kind of been designing it terribly themselves, but based on kind of styles and templates of someone else, they didn't really let go. So I'd go in, I'd do stuff, and then find that they'd messed about with it, and then they'd kind of own up to it if something had gone wrong. Like there were several covers that they'd ring me up and say, "Yeah, sorry, we changed something, and yours was better, and we've made a big mistake. Just thought we'd let you know before you saw it." It's like, well, it's fine. It's their baby. I get it. You kind of want ownership, and that's fine. But I didn't stay there too long. I didn't prioritise that. And then someone else from that had been at the Labour Party was working for a magazine at NatMags, National Magazine Company. Also, I don't know, they fully owned by Hearst, or just some of the titles? There's a link there. I think they're now owned by someone else. But part of a big American publishing group. That publication was Reveal magazine, a kind of second, maybe third-rate kind of celebrity gossip magazine. So I went and did some freelance there for a bit. That was interesting because going from a quarterly kind of art and counterculture magazine to going to an absolute trash weekly. But again, from a technical point of view, learning how to work on the kind of weekly schedule was really interesting to me. I didn't know who anyone was. I don't remember even Googling who people were at that point. So I don't know, I may have put captions in the wrong place. If so, no one ever told me. But yeah, and that was good because basically there were a load of different magazines. They each occupied different floors of this building. And just in hallways, people would kind of refer you up to other magazines. You would just getting bounced around different floors. So I worked kind of on Runners World, and then while I was there, they were also launching Athletes World, so I worked on that. And various other magazines, which now folded. She magazine, all kind of very consumer titles, and fine, if that's what you're into, fine. But again, from a design point of view, it's like there must be more to life. So at that point, kind of, when was this? This would have been 2010, so a couple of years after Labour. I was making decent money at this point, and it seemed to be going okay. It wasn't creatively fulfilled. But I thought, let's change it. Let's change things up again. And I've been talking to a friend of mine for a while. She had been kind of overseas and was loving it. She was an illustrator and she still lives out there. And 2 weeks after her inviting me, I was out in Melbourne, Australia, with a visa to work out there. she said she had a room in the house all waiting for me. That turned out to be a corridor. So I lived in the corridor for 6 months. But corridor rent in Melbourne, Australia is very cheap. So it was fine. There was no pressure on me from that front. And I was working for a few clients still in the UK. I was working for, well, I found some clients in Melbourne, Australia. And at that point, actually, I was doing some political work for the Democrats in the US. A friend of mine that was working in a neighbouring department at the Labour Party had gone to set up a print company dealing with kind of political campaigns in Philadelphia. So kind of, I was living in Australia, but basically working around the clock because that's when I different clients were up and running. Very little change. So, but kind of, I never had any real kind of desire to go to Australia, whether to visit it or live there, but it was just an opportunity, and I thought, why not? It's a way of getting out of kind of where I am now. And when I was out there, kind of, again, I found myself, I was still doing corporate work. I couldn't work out how I was ever going to land this more interesting stuff. And so I just kind of made some time, start doing my own stuff. I didn't really know what the hell that was going to be or look like, weren't it? And so I kind of touched on a few things, both stylistically and conceptually, I guess, that I was looking at in my MA, and kind of produced this poster. And I mean, it's kind of dealing with, at the time, the aftermath of kind of the recession. Or what do we call it? Credit crunch, credit crisis, recession. But it was dealing with all of that stuff. And I mean, it draws very heavily. It's too nostalgic by far. But it kind of draws on kind of Victorian advertising, which I think is great. And yeah, I don't know, it was kind of getting somewhere. There's definitely something in it, and I think there's kind of still an interesting aspect of it conceptually, and I like the idea of a graphic narrative, not in terms of it being a graphic novel or comic, but there is a definite graphic narrative there. I just would do it in a very different way. It dwells too heavily on kind of the past, not in a kind of, yeah, anyway. And then from that, I sent this out to various people, kind of friends in cool jobs and various cool agencies in Melbourne, not because I thought it would go anywhere or they'd give me a job, but it led to kind of a few meetings, it led to almost a job, and then their client evaporated. But it got me a bit of coverage, kind of on blogs and stuff. I sent one to a friend of mine who was working at Diesel and 55 DSL fashion brands. Yeah, no? Diesel, yeah. And they ended up commissioning me to do a t-shirt for some reason. But I thought, this is a cool brand. This is really cool. And I mean, they went for this one. And no, it's not me, but people think it is, and that's okay, I guess. Yeah, so I did that, and that was fine. And it felt like, at least I was starting to kind of do work that wasn't heavily kind of corporate, and I was beginning to kind of shed the old skin, or whatever the term would be. And just when I was getting comfortable, I decided to head back to London, so 6 months later. And I don't know why at this point. I think people were in Melbourne who I was living with were perhaps looking at kind of moving on to different things. I'm not sure. Anyway, I came back to London, and the timing was perfect because within 6 months of that, I bought a flat in Hackney, which was a cheap, not very great area, which is now a vastly expensive, fairly great area. And also, from a work point of view, I mean, to get the flat, I'll admit, I did take a temporary contract at Labour Party again for another general election. But then Also, I got I went for a meeting about just doing a visiting lecture at University of East London. I'd done 1 or 2 visiting lectures before, just at colleges I used to go to. But I thought, look, let's branch out. There was something that I kind of enjoyed about it. The only reason I went and did teaching in the first place was really to challenge myself. I don't like talking in front of people generally. And I thought if I can do that, then it will become easy. And within kind of 15 minutes of having this meeting with someone I've never met before, didn't know, didn't have any contacts with him before, he said, right, so if you're doing 1 day a week for the next 12 weeks, what would you do? And it's like, and so I just rattled a few things off the top of my head. And he said, right, start on Tuesday. This was Thursday, so it was in a few days' time. And I never saw him again until some event a couple of months before I came here. And kind of, I was there not knowing what the hell I was doing. There were no other members of staff to show me around at all. I made friends with a receptionist who basically gave me a key to the photocopy room. That was it. I had no clue. And I had the worst room for teaching in. And it's in, so I don't know if any of you know London Talk, but it's in Docklands. And it's in a fairly deprived area economically. And that's generally the intake as well. So most people go in there are local, from neighbouring boroughs, from kind of backgrounds where they've not been to university before. I found it quite challenging, but at the same time I thought, if I can do this, even if I'm doing it badly, there was no one there to tell me if I was doing it right or not. I could kind of do it anyway. And yeah, I mean, at one point, and it's funny because kind of I didn't really register at the time, but one student did stand up kind of, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in, and just stood up kind of aggressively, hand on table, and said, I'm going to stab you. And so I just said, do it or get out. And then, so luckily, they chose the latter. And the other students went, but he came up to me and said, I don't know what I'll do, I'm really sorry. And I come back, and it's like, you can come back for next week. And so kind of, and that worked. I didn't get any problem out of it. I mean, if I do it again, I'll probably get stabbed. So, but kind of, it just, again, it was just, I don't know, it just felt like kind of new experiences, not being threatened to be stabbed. New experiences of kind of teaching and thinking about things in different ways seemed like an interesting route to go down. Just as this was ending and my late party contract was about to end, I definitely wasn't looking at extending that. A job teaching 2.5 days a week at University for the Creative Arts, Farnham, came up, and I thought, well, I just about meet the criteria. I've got some teaching experience beyond the odd lecture now. No matter how poorly I've done it, I could try and wing it. And as part of the contract, they would send you on a teacher training course if you hadn't already. So I thought, well, let's see, there's nothing to lose. And also, a quick Google showed me that the person that would be interviewing me was someone that both myself and Wire had gone to do our master's with, so some masters. So kind of, that's why I got the job. And so kind of, I taught there for, sort of out at Farnham for 3 years. It was annoying though, a 2-hour commute from where I was living each way. But kind of it was interesting because that's where kind of, yeah, I learned how to teach properly, I guess. Well, properly, as well as I ever will. But yeah, they sent me on the teacher training course. But at the same time, I was running kind of my own studio, and I was kind of on the teacher training course. I was teaching 2.5 days a week, and again, I was working all the hours of the day. But this is the only quote I've got with me from Farnham, and this is actually similarly different. Any of you that have been here for a few years have probably heard of similarly different. Yeah. So it started at Farnham. Actually, this one, there was no exchange of students. We did it remotely because there was no budget initially. So it was all done kind of online. And then we had an exhibition in London where we painted it all white blue and hung the artwork. And then you guys had one in Portland, and that's me in Portland hanging something badly. And then that's the kind of first exhibition we had.
That's why these balls are red.
Yeah. We'll come back to something different later. I've got some embarrassing photos of only one student. And then kind of while I was doing that, and actually directly because of teaching at Farnham, I went and had a meeting with a tech company with Craig Burston, again, who Brian knows, who was head of the course. And we went and met up with them because they had a project called Granimator that they wanted to see if it was something that we could get our students to do, and then they could publish it as part of their app. And really, Granimator, I mean, this is kind of early iPad technology. So really, it was kind of an interactive kind of pattern maker where you could save it as wallpaper, which sounds awful now. But kind of as part of this, I kind of said, look, I'll go through the process just to see kind of what it involves. Not really thinking it was going to be published or anything, but so that we could then potentially roll it out to students. So that was our attempt to be more technologically kind of advanced at that point. And so kind of, I did it, and they published it, and it seemed to do really well. And it was nice because it got my name next to people like, well, I don't know if you know, well, you know NERD, and Kate Ross, non-format, and loads of other people that aren't on there have done these packs as well. And so kind of, it gave me confidence in my own work that even though no one knows who the hell I am, I was vaguely in the same orbit, at least in this moment. Yeah. And yeah, by all accounts, it was a really kind of quickly downloaded one. And for me, it was interesting because it was something new. I'd not done it before. I was creating static Photoshop assets, essentially. But I was very much kind of interested in what the parameters were. And a lot of people were just doing it to kind of showcase their own illustration style or whatever. And for me, it was much more about using the rules and the kind of limitations of it. So kind of, you could have it snapped to grid. So I had it, decided I wanted it snapped to grid. And it's something that kind of, it wasn't about kind of drawings or shapes or whatever that I had already made, but it was about kind of different elements people could use together and make letter forms or draw stuff or whatever it might be. And then, yeah, London Word Festival, got in touch. It's a small kind of festival, no money at all, but they wanted, instead of a logo, they wanted an identity. And they wanted, sorry, instead of a logo, they wanted a typeface. And I said I'd do one for the cost of fontographer, basically. I didn't know fontographer really. But I learned how to do it, and I went to, basically I found these letter tiles at my grandparents' farm when we were clearing that out, and turned it into typeface. And it was kind of very much based on, well, it's obviously based on the tiles, but the reason why I used it for London Word Festival, it's a monospace. I could at least possibly post-rationalise it as kind of monospacing linking to typefaces, and I kind of kept it kind of deliberately rough-edged. Had these alternate characters with field counters, almost as if printing mistakes we substituted in. And that seemed to go down well, and they used it for a couple of years until they folded. And that, again, it was great because I'd never done it before, really, or not that anyone had used. So it was just a way of me trying something different. And then I started using Smallfury at that point, and moved out. Well, I didn't move out of my flat. I stopped working in my flat and got a studio space, a different one to that. But that's my current studio space, which is a mess, and that's fine. I don't believe in having. I don't trust designers with neat bookshelves. I just don't trust them. So yeah, have books, of course, but use them, and don't just have them there as coffee table decorations. And so kind of, I still teach. I teach at Central St Martin's and London College of Communication now. I still run my design practice, and I still do kind of various things that link the two together. So we're similarly different. This is from last year or 2 years ago. And last year we kind of had it in a small gallery space next to my studio, which is great. Fun. Oh, I know. I look really serious there, don't I? Like one of these poorly photoshopped people. And then, so I was asked by London College of Communication. I wasn't actually teaching for them at this point, but they had asked me to come in and help on this magazine. They've got Scott King to redesign their journalism magazine. And Scott King, do any of you know Scott King? No. So he had been a creative director of ID magazine in the late 90s, I guess, and then he had set up Sleaze Nation magazine, which was kind of lifestyle and market kind of magazine. And he was redesigning this, and this was the first magazine he had done in a decade or something. So it was kind of, there was a bit of fanfare around it, but ultimately he got me on board to make sure the actual magazine was made. And so I joined them. It had already taken him 3 months, and it still wasn't anywhere near ready to be published. So I joined them, helped them get the first issue done. He then got sacked for the second issue, and I took it over from the second issue. And I'm dealing with the redesign literally at the moment. So kind of but it's interesting. And like I mentioned, I was never good at networking. And actually, Scott King in the last, I guess it would be 3 years ago now, working on this magazine. He got a lot of press at the time, but of course it was just his name mentioned. He'd do interviews, he wouldn't mention me at all. And that's just who he is as a person, that's how he's become a big name in a way. So I kind of didn't worry too much, but it's like, you've got to be proactive about it. You've got to kind of link your name to this and become known. And so kind of, I went out and kind of got quite into the kind of independent publishing scene in London, which is absolutely massive at the moment. And I went, someone I'd known and I'd actually met years before, Anthony Burrell, who's probably the biggest graphic artist. He might call himself a graphic designer, alternate graphic artist really at the moment in the UK. He was having a show, and I went along and just to look at his work. I wasn't kind of after anything. He came up to me and said, "Can I get a copy of that magazine?" It's like, yeah, of course. Let me know your address. I said, "Oh, while you're here, do you want to do a centre spread for the next issue?" And he said, "Yeah, definitely." And so kind of, it gave me the bravery to go, actually, people are kind of, well, not necessarily that people are treating me any differently, that I'm suddenly an equal to them at all, but it gave me kind of confidence that I was kind of I had a right to be there, sort of thing. And so it's been a really useful project, not simply because they keep paying me to make magazines. So we've got other people like Super Mundane. I don't know if people know Super Mundane's work, to do covers, and we've got no budget. I get paid, and that's it. It's written by journalism students, and they're assessed on it as part of their degree. And an artist, James Oswin, this is one of my favourite covers. This was already an art piece, part of the photo series he'd done. And we got the first year, this independent magazine company, they were running these awards. We put the magazine in. We're the only student magazine to be shortlisted in 2 categories, well, any categories, but we've got 2 categories. And the following year, they created a completely separate student award category on the strength of our magazine, which is great. We didn't win any awards, but that doesn't matter. And we had people like Rankin and Fuse. So we had, initially at least, we were able to sustain it with lots of kind of good names and good alumni to get in touch with. And it also led to kind of spin-off publications. Admittedly, A+ is kind of the same, but it's more college-wide, so it's not just by journalism students. And we do this. This was for what's this? Politics history. So this was for a general election, and it was very much about kind of protests and stuff inside. Hence why we did kind of neo-left press, things like that. And then kind of hanging around long enough, literally just me being at LCC with meetings, that led to me doing other magazines and projects for them, and ultimately led to me teaching there. So I now teach on the magazine journalism and publishing course. This is why, yeah, I'm an accidental specialist. It's not kind of, I've been trained in any of this, or I know what I'm doing, but this is what I'm doing. And yeah, kind of on top of all this kind of stuff, I also do very corporate magazines. And that's fine. I mean, it's fine. I know some people, this is the kind of, sorry, I'm going to say, this is for a publisher that deals with kind of local authorities and property developers. It's all about regeneration of areas, and I know it's very contentious everywhere at the moment with property prices, etc. So, yeah, perhaps shouldn't I be working for them? But they've been quite a long-standing client of mine now for four, maybe 5 years, and they care about their magazines from the start, so they get good printers, they get good paper stock. We sometimes do kind of interesting spot varnishes, etc. on the cover. And yeah, so they're a decent client. And also, kind of from that, we go to these huge kind of exhibition stands as well, which are a bit horrible and goofy, and you've got to kind of, well, I don't know, are they? Maybe, who knows? And you've got to kind of fit in lots of sponsoring stuff. So it's not about something just creative like acting, it's got to work for all your stakeholders. But it's interesting, changing scale. So working on something that's kind of a magazine and almost screen size, to something that is kind of, I don't know how many feet tall this is, 12 foot tall, 10 foot, 12 foot. And never being able to print out life size until it's actually printed. So you can't see the mistakes large. Can't even test printing. And that's fascinating. And kind of, I've done this for a number of years, and it's always a challenge. And sitting in on the very kind of stuffy meetings, trying to explain why you're doing things in a certain way, is interesting. And it kind of, I have absolutely no problem kind of balancing the corporate stuff with slightly more, well, I don't know if it even is more interesting, kind of education stuff as well. I like having this kind of mix. And kind of doing this work, and through my teaching and other projects at Central St Martin's, they got me to work on their degree show materials. And with St Martin's, their students design it, and then they get a design company to make it happen, basically. And it was great because I know that they get one of the biggest footfalls of any degree show in the world, probably. So they get upwards of 55,000 for this one in the space of, I think, a couple of weeks. And so looking at lots of signage and stuff like that in this swanky new building that we never got before. But so yeah, just working at different scales and for different requirements really interests me. Yeah, and this is some other stuff I did for St Martin's, and it's kind of led to making some time for your own projects. So I've been working absolutely flat out. Last year alone, I did 24 magazines plus other stuff, I think. So that's kind of a magazine every 2 weeks, plus any other work, plus teaching at 2 colleges, So trying to make time for your own projects hasn't been kind of easy at all. So I sat down and thought, what can I do? How much time can I actually spare? But you come up with all these grand ideas about projects that are going to take ages and you're going to deliver at some point in the future. I decided I had 24 hours. That was it. 24 hours to do something in. That's all I can set aside from clients and teaching. So, and that was a weekend. So I created Chart Sum. I've got freebies here. So basically, it's a kind of, it's in A sizes, so you're not going to understand this, but it's an A1 kind of sheet of paper folded down to A5, and it's got kind of content from all over the place, really. We put calls out on social media to kind of just submit stuff, and then we'd edit it down within the 24 hours. So it all goes to an email address, sits there waiting for us. And it's called Chart Sum because it was a risk. I mean, the inbox may say empty, and I don't know until 24 hours has started, then I've got 24 hours to work out what the hell to do. But it goes to the printer at the end of it regardless. And it was just a way of, it has lots of limitations. I can happily sit and tear it apart with anyone that wants to discuss it. I think there are lots of interesting things about it. But yeah, it was a way of just getting me to kind of think differently and be a bit more creative, albeit under serious pressure. I'm getting too old to do all-nighters. And so, yeah, we've done 3 regular issues of this. And it's good because we've got kind of contributions from kind of keen amateurs, I guess. And there's all hobbyists, and there's absolutely no problem with that at all. But also quite kind of more well-known people, so fashion illustration from a friend of mine, Montana Forbes, who does a lot of editorial illustrations. We had articles by people that write for magazines, and I've got no budget for this. The budget is to print it, and then, but that's out of my own pocket, and then I distribute it for free across London. So, yeah. But also kind of for some, I put in some of my own stuff, and I document toilet science. And the kind of variations and how they kind of all link in weird different ways. And that's partly Baya's fault that I kind of link them all together, because for a taxonomies exhibition at Land Gallery, she invited me to do something I didn't know what to do, but had all of these on file, and so tried to turn them into some sort of weird periodic table. Yeah, but this was a hit. I thought this is one of those embarrassing secrets. It's like, this isn't one of those things you tell people about, but I thought, let's put it in and see what happens. And people loved it. I don't know why, but it just does. And kind of, I think that's important. Quick interlude. So these are just a few things that I think visually that I'm into, and kind of definitely there's some sort of link, or I see a link with Charlestown. And I can't do this kind of more maximalist stuff very well, I don't think. But that's always been what I've been drawn to, because it's less fashionable. The modernist kind of clean, minimal stuff's the fashionable one. That's how you become a serious designer. So I've always been drawn to whatever's not in fashion. If you can tell me. Oh, Brian's captain, because April Brian isn't a documentary. Vandals, yeah, that's really. Yeah, definitely check. Oz is out. They've got all of Oz magazine on digital archive online, so you can definitely check that out. And then kind of, and doing Chart Sum, actually, I'm better playing it. Yeah, sorry. Doing Chart Sum magazine has led to kind of collaboration. So I did a collaboration with London College of Communication, and they got me into teaching upper term. I was already teaching on the magazine journalism and publishing, a particular term, and then they kind of extended it specifically to do a collaboration with Chart Sum, which was great. So it's actually generating work for me at the moment, which that wasn't the intention. So the idea that actually creating time to do your own projects can be beneficial to not only creativity, creatively, but by kind of other work being thrown away. And so this is, some photos of the collaboration. I've got a few copies of that here. And students each produce their own version of this. This was over a 10-week period. As opposed to 24 hours, they produce their own version of this based on their own theme, and then I produced a kind of mashup, I guess, of various things. I think rhyme, we've got rhyme, mental health, the cult of ugly in editorial design, and dating, and masculinity, I think, were the themes, I think. And also, kind of while I'm out here, we've done collaboration with Annex and the students in 420. And yeah.
Cheers outside.
Yeah. If you're, well, you should all be going, to be honest, but that'd be available there. But yeah, I think find your own voice, because you've got to work out what you want to be doing, really. There's a lot of design jobs out there, and that's fine. They might all seem great, and they might be great. That might be all you want, but you may want to do stuff more for yourself as well. But also, I'm a white, middle-class male, and there are certain kind of privileges of simply being that, and also I've now got money, I've now got savings, I've got my own flat. Most of my peers aren't in that situation, even if they've got kind of much better paying jobs than me, etc. So work out what you want to do, and I'm not sure, it's a difficult one to resolve at the moment, because I'm not sure how interesting my voice can be, really. So I'm kind of working out quite what I do. So I think that I've got involved in a few projects, and I've not really gone looking for them. I've just made myself available to them, that have kind of helped me reevaluate a little bit. And one is this magazine called British Values. And actually, I met the editor, a British Indian woman, on this panel discussion about starting your own magazines. I hadn't started a magazine at that point. They just invited me to talk about design. And it's kind of a magazine that, even though it sounds very fascist, being called British Values, it explores the idea of British identity from an immigrant's perspective. And I was a token white male on it. And it was just interesting. And design-wise, I don't like it. I think it's got a huge amount of potential. But this was the second issue, and she was kind of very definite in where she wanted it to go. So I was just making it happen and doing it, making it better. The first one had been a bit too cheap, and so kind of this had to look a bit better so that people would actually, it would sell more. We could turn it into a bigger thing, so it could reach bigger audience ultimately. So there was that, and also again, this is, I'm working with that editor, Kieran Yates, on this magazine, but also this is publication that was funded between London College of Communication and London College of Fashion. So their students were writing about diversity in fashion. It became more about racial identity rather than diversity in its broadest possible sense. But that was where the students wanted to take it, and that was fine. So that was interesting again to be working on, and just kind of being exposed and kind of hearing about all these interesting people and kind of voices that you wouldn't necessarily hear about. And so, yeah, I don't quite know where that leaves me now. I mean, I'm now in Portland. I kind of up sticks to come here, partly to give myself some headspace maybe, because I feel a bit frazzled. I don't know how much headspace I'm getting because I'm still working around the clock. But I think there was kind of lots of recurring themes, really. The idea of facilitating stuff that I'm involved in design-wise, that education's in there in some way, but I don't quite know what I do next. That's a terrible place to leave, isn't it? I should have some uplifting thing. But I think always keep reevaluating. We're creative people, so naturally, I think you've got to look up once in a while and work out where you're going. I have no idea. I didn't have a specific aim in mind. It was like, get a job in design, and that was it. And then kind of I was up and running. So I think work out what you want to do and keep reappraising that, really. It's fine if it changes. And none of this, kind of going through it today, it kind of seemingly made sense how lots of things kind of interwove and stuff. But I didn't seek any of it out in particular, or kind of think I want to go into magazines, I want to go into education. It's just certain things presented themselves. And rather than saying no, I tend to just say yes if it's going to kind of develop or challenge me in some new way. Sorry, that was really long.
Yeah.
How many magazines are you working on?
Oh, not anyway. 2. The maximum is 7 at any one time.
How do you feel about the current status of the Labour Party?
Confusing. Confusing. Yeah, they're almost certainly not going to get into power. And I'm, in my nature, far more left-wing and kind of supported a more left-wing even initially. But the media is so kind of anti-him, he's never going to win back whatever he does. And somehow, well, like here, somehow everything shifted right-wing and it's naturally become the normal, and any kind of vaguely socialist view become kind of fringe. I mean, it's been more like that, I guess, for longer here, but it's much more recent. So yeah, I don't feel great about it.
I would like to hear a little bit more of what you said about London having a lot of
Okay, yeah, I don't know, what's it like in America at the moment with independent publishing? Is there a boom period or not, or mixed?
There seems to be a resurgence, which is interesting because the internet
Yeah.
is so available, but yet myself and other people I know seem to be working on paper,
Yeah.
resographs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's just really fascinating to watch that happen.
Yeah.
Why would we do that when we could put a Tumblr or a Medium post up?
Exactly.
Yeah, we do it.
Exactly. Well, I think it's kind of digital fatigue in a way.
Yeah.
That kind of, we want something different. I mean, this now seems different and slightly kind of, exciting. It's paper. We can open it, fold it, extract it. And we've got these everywhere. And the idea that we're now kind of, they're monitoring our every move and what we do and stuff.
Yes.
They own more of us and actually kind of, we are their content providers, essentially. Kind of, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a way of getting away from that. And also, yeah, I don't know. I think people just, well, I think the digital world is kind of, we're at a moment in it where it feels quite well developed, well established. It doesn't feel like completely radical new stuff in it's happening. I know lots of interesting stuff's being kind of developed, but it doesn't feel completely earth-shatteringly new that it might have done 5 years ago. And the debate isn't kind of print versus digital or anything. It's more, they both exist. What are the benefits of each one? Why is digital useful? How is print useful? So print, I mean, print newspapers, I don't know how they survive, really. I can't genuinely see the value in them, except for maybe a Sunday newspaper. It's kind of a roundup of the week or whatever. So time-specific stuff, it's got to be digital in a way. But other things, you want to spend more time over, and for those of us that kind of just enjoy tactile posts like that, magazine design. And it's difficult because I go to lots of kind of events and talks about magazine stuff in London, and you worry that it is just this weird bubble of people. But there seems to be a lot of kind of companies that are kind of quite big independent publishers now Do you have the Gentlewoman magazine? Yeah, so that's an independent, but they've gone huge. Repulse magazine, I think, yeah. And I mean, admittedly, both of those and many other magazines are kind of now having to offer more than just a magazine. So they offer, I think, Gentlewoman, certainly in the UK, do kind of running clubs together and stuff like that. So they're offering communities. I think kind of this idea of genuine engagement and genuinely kind of being linked to the community again, rather than this idea of digital remoteness. I don't know, it seems to be working today. I'm not saying digital can't, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny, 5 years ago I was doing more digital stuff, which I'm not showing. But now I'm not doing anything. I really want to. I expect that.
My experience has been just like what you described. There's both. Digital is good, and print is turning out to be something that's more useful than we would have thought in this digital revolution.
I think there was an immediate reaction to everything went digital, and a lot of bookshops, magazines, whatever, publishers went to the wall or completely digitized. But look at those magazines which are trying to go digital only. They do it, and then they look at coming back. Or Face magazine has just announced going digital, but with a view to going print again. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is really, and I don't think anyone does. The reality is, in every industry now, the internet and technology is a disruptor. There is no one business model that works in any sector anymore. You've got to work out for yourself. Which is why, kind of, as students, as designers, people really have got to be quite adaptive and kind of work out, reflective and kind of work out what we do next, not just assume it's going to be the same thing. Yeah.
What was the name of the magazine you said after Jim
Take the one.
What
Repost.
Repost. Okay.
Yeah.
RIPOS.
Yeah. There are lots of other. And that's a good thing, kind of working at LCT on this magazine journalism course. I get in other independent magazine people. So I get to meet them through that as well. So it's kind of, this whole, me being very reluctant at networking, it's fine because I just meet them naturally through working with them. That's great. Because it's always awkward, isn't it, networking. Because everyone's after something, aren't they? They either want the job or they want you're slightly more well known or they're more well known or whatever it is. And some never feels quite right, and some of that's just often in your head, but kind of working with people and getting to know them on an equal footing, I think it's a better way of doing it for me.
Alright, I can have a request, but like, how would you encourage Portland students to check their privilege more? I feel like in Portland specifically, it's like a huge bubble, and I think it can be hard to check your privilege when that's like all you know. So like, what would you do to encourage checking that and being more aware?
I don't know, it's difficult because I'm not sure I'm necessarily like a role model to follow on that front. I think you've got to look at kind of the events you're going to, and maybe there are other kind of events or talks going on about some other sphere you're not necessarily interested in, but you think there's some interesting subjects in there or talking points that are going to naturally attract a very different audience to who you're used to and go to it. Put yourself outside of your normal kind of sphere of life. I'm lucky, in London it's easier to do, but until recently, I mean, it's still very much the vast majority of my friends are kind of white Anglo-Saxon people, not through any kind of, we naturally congregate towards groups of likeness, whether it's skin colour or whatever, or interest, but you've got to make sure that actually, or just realise that life's more interesting when kind of you're engaging with people from all over the place, completely different perspectives and outlooks on things. Your design work will be richer, your life will be richer. Right? But I think you've just got to do what's right for you. I'm not saying everyone needs to get out there and not like kind of don't know, we've all got to be friends with, I don't know, someone from certain countries or whatever. You just got to kind of do what's right for you. And just be open to the fact that you've got certain things and not everyone does. That's all it boils down to. And a lot of those things you've got aren't down to any kind of skill or hard work of your own. Some of them are, but they're still privileges, I would say. They're not kind of right. So I think just be open to it and try and push.
I mean, I have a thought on that also. It's, you're going to find yourself in positions when a campaign is being discussed or copy is being written that may be a little bit off, may be a little offensive to you or to another community of people, and it's up to you to say something. And someone didn't say something to those Pepsi people. You know, it happens. Someone had to have thought that someone would say something. So there's things like that. There's also when you get into a position, you're students now, so you don't have a lot of power yourself, but when you get into a position where you can help people, you know, help lift up other people who may not have those privileges that you may have had. And whatever that is, whether it's mentoring someone, whether it is commenting on, you know, if you notice that a certain conference that you regularly go to is very uneven in the kinds of folks it's bringing in. We're lucky, finally, they're very conscious of that. And it's a very diverse group of practitioners all around. But yeah, you use your power when you can use it. That's what I would say.
And also, yeah, know when to kind of be quiet as well. There are certain kind of situations where kind of other people's experiences are more important than your own, so kind of enable them really, which is kind of very much what I kind of realised working on British Values. It's like I had a direction that I wanted to take the magazine in more, but it's like it's not about me, it's not about my experience. So I've got to kind of, while I can apply certain kind of design thinking to it, I've got to accept that actually it's about other people. It's not really what I think it's about. That's fine.
Thank you so much.